Hey guys, hope you're well. Hello from very lush Minnesota, land of 10,000 lakes, so slowly heading east. And obviously I was not at the latest fee hearing between ZDT and DOA, but I could give you guys a rundown and kind of find some nuggets from it. Also, again, shout out to the Hero Not Zero Reddit because they found the nugget originally, but we'll analyze what it possibly means. So essentially, Tamer, ZDT's attorney, was asked to validate his fees if he was getting paid $675 an hour by ZDT or if he was doing it pro bono. So he said that he refused that he would not answer that question, and that was attorney-client privilege, and then when directly asked, he pled the fifth. So that's interesting. We'll analyze a little bit about what that might exactly mean, but obviously let's not bury the lead. ZDT was unsuccessful. He had one victory in all of these court cases, but it hasn't ended in a victory. So obviously this was the restraining order battle of DOA versus ZDT, where DOA tried to get a restraining order against ZDT. Solomon has been successful in getting a restraining order against ZDT. Henry has also been successful. DOA was the first person who was not successful. When you look at Mindy or any other future cases, they will probably be successful as well. But this was a case that was particularly noteworthy because it is the one, albeit minor, victory that ZDT had in court. But now, because he's made such a big deal over this fee hearing, now it's essentially invalidated. So the judge ruled out of a request for over $18,000, which is the fees that ZDT said that he spent to defend himself in this RO case. DOA nor anybody on his team are responsible for any of those legal fees. So that was unsuccessful. However, ZDT wants to spin it. It's not really going to work. The other interesting part, as I was remarking on before, what was particularly noteworthy is that Tamer refused to answer really how he was getting paid. And that's always been a dodgy issue when there have been previous people. I'm not saying ZDT has that connection, but when there have been previous people thought to have a connection with Scientology, they get very skittish when they're asking about details as to who is paying their legal bills and who is hiring their legal team. Joey Rockets was very reticent to answer that question. Ultimately, he did and admitted that Scientology was paying his legal bills. Joey Rockets in the RO battle versus Streets LA. So if you look at some thematic stuff, and usually, especially if you're trying to defend your client and get the cash back, you think that would be your best interest. But if you look at the theme, they don't want anybody to lift the hood over. And in that regard, it looks like maybe there is some odd connection because, again, any other attorney would just say, this is what I charged. He directly paid me or somebody else directly paid me. But the fact that he wouldn't answer, even though he knew it would hurt his case, indicates that maybe Scientology really might be behind this. Because, again, it's rare when an attorney is really nervous about explaining how they're getting paid. And when they are, there might be a secretive group fronting them that they know if that were to be found out, that would have larger repercussions than just in the confines of the case itself. So it's an odd thing. Tamer said he was getting a whopping $675 an hour, which seems quite egregious for that quality of legal service, but that's what he was paying. So again, he wanted at $675 an hour for a total of $18,000, which he did not get. Now, another thing that if you ever do make connections later down the road with DOA's cases, even though ZDT has no connection ostensibly with Scientology, he could say people specifically target him. And here's one example where they tried to target me with fees and I were successful in this case. So it shows he has some knowledge of the legal system. I don't think DOA had an attorney for this situation. And he's off the hook, so he might be smart enough to be quick on his feet and get let off. But who knows? It's still going to be a very tough trial. But a little victory, and again, a little victory that DOA could try to utilize and narrate and could try to say he was being accosted by a bunch of people connected with Scientology, and then they blow things out of proportion and specifically target people, and that might be an effective calling card. And with this victory of not having to pay the fees, maybe have some legitimacy in some of it. I don't know. Probably more of a stretch than anything else, quite frankly. But, you know, you try to use everything, right? Even if it's 3 degrees separated, even if it's disjointed from what you're trying to talk about. You know, everything, every little thing helps. So this little minor victory might be somewhat helpful in his case. As for that, I don't think there's much news beyond that. DOA's case is barreling along, so we all know who's pled to that. ZDT has his hearings later on. I believe that in June. I had to double check the date in terms of the criminal hearings and what's all going to happen with that. So nothing relatively new in that situation. But I'll try to keep my eyes and ears out for any future trial developments. Yeah, at the end of June is a ZDT trial date, I believe. So it's going to be a kind of quiet month, but the fee hearing was interesting. And again, it might indicate a deeper conspiracy, quite possibly. So you kind of wonder who in the hell would pay $675 an hour for Tamer's legal services. But if you're Scientology, you're just throwing money out there, maybe that's entirely possible. Of course, Tamer could be lying about the number as well. I'd be shocked if anybody paid him that. I'd pay him not to represent me, quite frankly. But unsuccessful, so ZDT might try to spin it a certain way. There's no opportunity for appeals. There's no opportunity to do anything else. So that's the end of the case. And yeah, I'll see you guys at least for little updates down the road, and I will try to fly in when there's full blown trials happening and it's worth flying back out west for. You take care. Bye bye.